Welcome, everybody, to our BNI Talks webinar. My name is Steve Tenuza, your host. Today, I've got Jill Kinney, and we are talking about the top 10 mistakes to avoid in branding and web design. This is a pretty important thing. I think, Jill, I don't know about you, but I always feel like people are spending so much time on social media channels that they're ignoring their most important asset, which is their website.
I agree. I think all these things run together in tandem, but your website, as you will hopefully learn from today's conversation, is an extension of your brand, and it should not be overlooked.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into it, why don't we just take a quick poll? Because I'm curious. When was the last time you updated your website content or design? In the last month, if you're driving around, you're wondering what the responses are in the last month, in the last 6 months, in the last year, and it's been 2 or 3 years, or has it been more than 3 years? I didn't want to put like a 5+ years. I don't even want to know. But you know what? We're all at different places, and this is why we have these conversations. Sometimes we forget that if we didn't update the website, maybe we didn't have an opportunity to add some services, to remove some services you no longer offer, all those things that are important to do. And Jill's going to cover a lot of that stuff today. All right, let's keep this poll going another 10 seconds or so, and then we'll share the results. Okay. All right. Jill, what do you think about those results?
I'm pretty pleased to see that 39% have updated in the last month.
Yeah.
Another 25% in the last 6 months. And wow, so another 17%. I can't do the math real quick, but that's like roughly what 80% have updated in the last year.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And those of you that 20%-ish that it's been 2 years or more, we're here for you.
You're going to want to check your website after today's conversation.
Definitely. All right. Let me stop the share on that. And Jill, why don't you get into this and introduce yourself and tell us what we're talking about today?
Absolutely. Well, today we are going to talk about the top 10 mistakes to avoid in branding and website design. And you might be going, who is this person? My name is Jill Kinney. I'm the owner and creative director of JDK Design, a branding and web development firm located in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I will share with you a little bit about my why. I'm a graduate of the USF. I'm a fiance, a mom, a fur baby mom, and my involvement in BNI goes back to 2012. I've been a director, an area director, served on the core training team, currently a chapter success coach, all of this since 2012. Firm believer in BNI, love the group as a whole. I've sponsored 52 members into the organization, so that is including no launches, so that's just specific membership.
Nice.
If you want to have a separate inviting conversation, we can maybe do that another time.
That's actually next week's webinar. We'll get into that later.
Wow, maybe I'll hop on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've served in almost every leadership team role, and I will share with you that my key to success is the passionate belief in the power of positive thinking. So we are going to jump right into the top 10 tips and tricks. Know that these are not in any specific order. They're just kind of random. So don't expect one to be the most important or least important. So we'll just share that right now. So number one, we're talking about branding. We speak about unclear branding or maybe no branding at all. I want to hear from you. Do you think that branding is important? Put it in the chat. Is branding important? What is branding? Some of you might not know that. Yes, so Richard says yes, very much so. Awesome. So I'm going to share with you, branding is very important. Branding is what people say about your business when you're not in the room, okay? It's like your professional reputation. So when we consider brand, it matters. When we think about those larger companies, they go for brand recognition. Branding isn't just about a logo. It's about having a clear message, conveying with color and proper font selection. And you want to have that brand translated across all platforms in a cohesive manner. So not just a pretty logo, you want to have marketing collateral to back it up, and promotional products, whether you have a vehicle wrap, and then obviously a website. You want to have that brand translated across all platforms the same. So let me just share. Did you know that a consumer has to see a logo 7 times before they have a brand recognition? So if you're using 7 different variations of your logo, your consumer is going to have to see that brand mix 49 times before they can recognize your logo. So yes, branding is important. Awesome. Next, we are moving into call to action. Some of you might not know what a call to action is. It's basically that little button that tells your visitor what to do, right? So how many of you have been to a website much like this example, where not only is there not 1 or 2 or 20, call to actions, you don't know what to do first, right?
Mhm.
So show of hands, it's a little confusing, right? So having no call to action or way too much information is definitely something that you want to avoid. We want folks to be able to click a button and hopefully contact us or make a purchase from our website. That's the goal of the call to action.
Yeah, we had Tori Moreno on last week, and he was talking about how important the calls to action were. And he says, so many people have long scrolling pages that you shouldn't just wait until the bottom of the page to put your call to action, but put it in multiple places throughout the site as you're scrolling.
Absolutely. And you want to keep it simple and succinct, add to cart, get started, contact us, sign me up, right? Buy now. I mean, again, the goal is for us to have that user click the button and hopefully contact us or, make a purchase. That's the goal in the CTA.
Mhm.
So next, we're going to talk a little bit about website security. And this one is oftentimes the most overlooked and misunderstood. Keeping your site updated is going to protect you against hackers, against malware, and I'm not even going to get into the details of all the potential, technology issues, right? So it's really super important. If your website security has been prioritized from the very get-go with your design, that's awesome, because it will hopefully, not be a mistake that you will have to encounter.
Mhm.
So some of the suggestions that that you can do to make sure that your website is secure is passwords, having strong passwords. I know you guys have heard this, not just with regard to websites, but across the platform. Don't use your same password on all of your different logins. That's not wise. Keeping your site updated. There are backend programs that need to be updated on a regular basis. Installing backup applications. How many of you know whether you have backup on your website? If something were to happen catastrophically, are you starting from scratch? Like, that would not be fun, right? And then having a recovery strategy. If you did have a security breach and your site was taken down or, impaired, what's your recovery strategy? Can you, bring it back up within 24 hours? Do you even have that backup process? So some of this can be scary a little bit. And when you're probably going, oh, I hadn't thought about this, so I hadn't thought about that. Reach out to your current web developer. They should be able to tell you where you're at with, do you have backup? Do you have a recovery plan? A lot of times they'll offer a complimentary website security assessment, to just see where you're at. And then you can determine next steps from there.
Yeah,
Steve,
Joe, I think,
add?
in terms of your choice of web host,
Mhm.
sometimes people, when they're just starting their business, they're just going to go with the cheapest host that they can find, but they don't always offer the most help when things go wrong, or any kind of support that you might need. And I know a lot of different people, certainly BNI, offer, web hosting packages where if your business is really starting to take off, you really need that kind of backup support in case something does, if the site goes down and you're going to lose business, you really need someone to jump in and really fix it quickly.
Absolutely. There are a plentiful amount of web hosting companies, some that I would highly recommend and some that I might not highly recommend, and for various reasons. Support is a big one. Also, security, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. in some of the other factors in choosing a web host, because they do impact the results that you're getting from your website.
Yep.
With regard to website security, we also want to talk about that other SSL certificate issue. So you'll notice the slide on the right, it shows you not secure. It's basically in that URL script. And the one on the right has a little lock. So that means the site is secure. Some of you might think that this is only important if you're having an e-commerce site selling a product online, but that's actually not the case. You want to, it's a small investment that really will make a big impact on your website. Again, reach out with your web developer. They will know how to get this configured for you and installed on your website. I will share with you too that Google actually ranks websites based on their security. So having an SSL certificate really can impact your results there as well. Next, we're going to talk about having a professionally designed website. So for example, if your site is designed by your neighbor's brother's best friend's mom's cousin, chances are it's going to look like it was designed by your neighbor's brother's best friend's mom's cousin, right? So it's not going to represent your brand properly. It most likely is not going to be professional. This is one of those scenarios where you get what you pay for, right? Or you don't get what you don't pay for. So I will encourage you. We don't get a second chance to make a great first impression. So your website is one of those things. One of the things I love about the platform of website development is that you have the ability to appear just as large as a huge corporation. Or, if you want to have that brand where you are a family-owned business, you can represent yourself that way as well. But the beauty of having a professionally designed website is you have the choice of reflecting your brand how you want and showing those company values. Just because you're maybe a single solo entrepreneur, you don't have to show that on your website. You can be as big and bold as some of the larger corporations. So it's a wonderful platform. Next, we are going to discuss target market. Hopefully, as business owners, you guys know what your target market is. But have you considered how your website is reaching that target market? I mean, ultimately, it should be, because we want this to be about revenue, about earning new clients, making sales, right? Within the target market conversation, knowing your target market and speaking to them in a language that they understand makes you relatable. Color schemes can influence the emotions, attitudes, and behavior of your visitors. If you want to create a good first impression, think about using appropriate colors. If you're using colors that maybe clash with what your values are or don't complement your message, that can backfire on you. It can be really, really bad. Steve, you look like you have something you want to add to this.
Well, I see so many people who don't put a lot of thought into what the colors are in their website, and it seems like they're going to go with, a lot of people, if you're building your own website and you chose a template that you think looks good, maybe you're not really considering the color and the layout of it. You're just seeing something that might have worked for a bank, but if you're a caterer, it's not the same. You want something that's a little bit warm if you're doing the food service business, or something that relates to what you do. I know that, like, red and yellow are like McDonald's colors and Wendy's colors because it makes people hungry or something like that. So colors really make a big difference. So work with your designer, if it's Jill or anyone else in your chapter. Make sure that the colors are actually speaking to what your customers are looking for.
Yes, mostly, anytime I have a client that comes in that has a new brand, this is the first conversation that we start with, because it is so important in conveying your message. And Steve and I were chatting before everybody came on today, and I shared with him when I first got involved with BNI and was talking about target market, I was really afraid of limiting myself to one profession. I'm going to search out for attorneys and medical professionals because I didn't want to do navy blue logos for the rest of my life, right? But if you consider the different thought processes around a brand. It's not just, you know, I'm an attorney. It's, you know, I'm a female attorney, or I'm a male attorney that only wants to work with, you know, XYZ. So again, thinking about that target market audience and communicating at a level that they want to be communicated to, not where you're at. So I think it's definitely a great consideration. In addition to color selection with regard to target market, you want to consider also the messages that you're sending with the content of your website. So that includes videos, that includes, you know, imagery, photos. You know, are you considering diversity? Are you alienating potential clients based on what you are or are not including on your website? And then content is huge. And I know Steve has lots to say about content, but you
That's
know,
another website, right? Another
yes, that's a
webinar
whole
for
nother
sure.
webinar, right?
It is.
It's including the content that's relevant, not just to your target market, but, you know, for what you do, and having, you know, a great information there as well. Next, we are going to talk about mobile friendly platforms, having a responsive design. That means that whether you're looking at your website on a PC or a mobile device or a tablet, it all looks good, right? It's relatable. If your site does not have a mobile friendly experience, you probably need to consider this a priority. 40% of the users that are, you know, searching for stuff on mobile platforms, if they don't have a good experience, they're gone. They've left your site. So that means that your competition may have a leg up on you if, you know, if your site is not mobile friendly and theirs is. 57%, if you don't have a mobile friendly site, will say they're not going to do business with you. So this is a little bit judgmental, right? That you know, they're making decisions based on this, but again, we don't get a second chance to make a great first impression, and that also needs to include, you know, whether folks are finding you on a phone or a tablet.
Yeah,
So
Google used to have a directive that was like, make sure that, you know, your website is mobile friendly and responsive. Now they say designed for mobile first, because the majority of people, especially younger people, are working from their phones much more than they are from their computer screen. So they're the first time they're going to see your site is on a phone or a tablet.
absolutely. Years ago, Google basically said, we're not going to optimize your site. We're not going to let your site be found if it wasn't mobile friendly. So this is something that is super, super important.
Right. And of course, our friend Carlos Benuelos, who's also been on our webinar in the past, is like the king of mobile, and he is correct, saying that mobility is king these days.
Yes, yes. And again, it will impact search engine optimization, having a mobile friendly site.
Yeah.
So like what I did there, next we're going to talk about search engine optimization. What we have here are two examples of vehicles that don't run. One doesn't have an engine, and the other one is really beautiful, but it doesn't have the right tires to actually allow it to run. This is a really simple visual to portray what SEO does. So it's kind of like the behind the scenes magic that allows your site not only to run, but actually to be found on search engines. So when you have an effectively optimized website, it's much like having a beautiful car where you're riding down the Autobahn, you know, folks are looking at you, you're turning heads, and hopefully your website is doing that, and you're getting phone calls and you're getting orders, right? That's the idea of how this works. So search engine optimization is going to also include relevant content. Again, we talked about those videos, photos, that content, the actual words, you know, those keywords that you're implementing into your website. Steve, do you have something you want to add to that?
Just that, you know, we've talked about SEO a number of times, and the thing that I'm seeing is that this is becoming more and more important. For those of you who have not optimized your site, or if you've had it optimized when the site launched, you know, several years ago, and you haven't tweaked it since then, or added some content like blogs or things like that, to really get your search engine results up higher, you're gonna. It's kind of it's almost like a waste to have a beautiful website that's got all the information on it and no one's seeing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot that you can do from an SEO standpoint. that will help in that automation. I know we asked earlier about how many people had updated their website recently. A good thing to check also is your copyright date. Does it say 2023? That's a relevant thing, because for you folks that had said that you hadn't updated your website in 2 or 3 years, your viewers are going to see that when they come to your site.
Yeah.
Once you have SEO configured, you also want to make sure that you're setting up analytics. Analytics are a great tool to be able to review what your site is doing and how you can make improvements. A fun fact, 75% of small businesses don't have analytics set up on their website. So if you can think of your website as an investment, one of the most important things that you can do to protect that investment is to analyze the progress. And one of the great things about online marketing is, the tools are all there. You can test, you can track, and then you can make adjustments to make it effective for the results that you're looking for. Next is kind of a little one, but it's also important. It is actually having contact information. So how many of you have been to a website where you couldn't find the contact information, or there was no email address, there was no phone number, right? So having that contact information prominently displayed, easy to find, or maybe you have a dedicated contact page. Your business should be everybody's business. We don't want to make it difficult for our consumers to reach out to us or find out how to get in touch with us. That should be super, super easy. We want to minimize those clicks and maximize the opportunity when someone does land on your website that they can connect with you.
Yeah, more and more businesses are embedding a like a Calendly, like book an appointment. Especially good for those of you who are super busy, and you can just open up what's available and have them plunk in their own little meeting time for you, and get back to them. So it's really convenient, and I think people love the ease of that, just to have being able to say, all right, I'm available this time, and let me put that meeting in there.
Absolutely. I've got some folks that have dedicated forms specific to what services they're looking for, so that's something that when you get those communications, you want to know how you can help the folks that are trying to reach to you. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about load times. If your website loads slowly, you're certainly going to lose the visitor. And by slow, this is a simple fact. It is 3 seconds. 3 seconds. That's it. According to Google, if your site takes longer than 3 seconds, 53% of mobile users are gone. They've gone to your competitor. So some of the things that can impact load time are, huge images. If your images are not optimized, having a bunch of JavaScripts that maybe are not as tidy as they need to, Flash content, which I don't know anybody who uses Flash anymore, but it is one of the things that will impact load time. Not using or having improper cache set up, and some of this might be too techy for you, but if you don't know, you can take some notes and have a chat with your website designer, and they can help you with that.
Yeah, this is a whole segment of SEO, that's technical SEO, and load times are such an important factor in there, because you're right, especially if you're on mobile and you don't see the site loading quickly, you're already gone.
My fiance will tell you I am not a patient person, so this one really speaks to me on volumes. And I know we talked about hosting providers earlier, Steve. This is something that will definitely impact the results of your site. If you've got a hosting provider that has shared hosting and they've got a bunch of websites that you're sharing the resources for, it will impact your load time. So again, if you're not sure about this, have a conversation with your web developer, and it might be an opportunity to change hosting providers if that's one of the things that is impacting your website. We don't get a second chance to make a good first impression, and that includes load time. Last but not least, this one is probably my favorite. We are relationship-based individuals, and we want to do business with people that we know, like, and trust. So sharing your why. having that information available on your website is going to be that barrier breaker, right? Letting someone know a little bit about you, about your beliefs, what your company values are. That's going to help them to get to know you and in turn want to do business with you, hopefully, right? Some of the things that you could include, and I know Steve, as a content writer, you probably are jumping all over this one, but what sets you apart from your competition, why you do what you love about what you do. That could include your favorite product, your favorite service, and why that is, how you help your client. Like I, loved being able to help my clients and including testimonials about that as well.
Yeah.
You all know building relationships is one of the core values of BNI, and it definitely is something that weighs heavily when you're considering the content of your website as well.
Yeah, I think, when people first started doing websites, you would have, the homepage, the services page, the blog, and all the other stuff. And then it would be like contact and then the about page. But the about page has become more and more important, especially for small businesses lately, because people want to know who they're dealing with and how much experience do you have and what's your story, your why. Why did you create this business? What was the gap in the market that you're solving? All of those things are super important, and making sure that you're communicating that up front, again, in conjunction with your branding, that's so important. The look and feel of the website. This is all going to influence how the buyer is going to react to what you're offering.
Absolutely. So for those of you that are wanting to know what we talked about, you can do a little screenshot here or take your phone out and take a picture. These are the things to do, okay? You want to have clear branding. You want to have an effective call to action. Make sure your website is secure, professionally designed. You want to make sure your target market is not only identified, but you're speaking to them in a language that they understand, that they can communicate back with you. We want our sites to be mobile friendly. We want to have search engine optimization and analytics. Make sure your contact information is clear, fast load time, and know your why, express your why, share your why. And I believe we are going to launch into Q&A next.
All right, we've got a few questions. You'll see Jill's contact info right there at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to get in touch, please do. Of course, if you've got someone in your chapter who does this, of course, set up a one-to-one with them. But if you don't have someone, Jill is here to help you all. All right, first question. What does WordPress offer that the standard GoDaddy hosting service offers?
Okay. I'm not sure what you're asking on
Yeah,
that.
I think what he's asking here is what are alternatives to hosting on a service like GoDaddy?
Okay. So if you're using WordPress platform, which is a phenomenal platform, it has a lot of opportunity for plugins and things that can help with SEO. Or if we're comparing to GoDaddy website builder, perhaps, is that what we're?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that most people start because they usually buy their domain off of GoDaddy. And so they just kind of stick with them, and suddenly that's who their host
That's
is.
their provider.
Yeah.
So GoDaddy website builder is going to be a starter, just like Steve said. And it's going to say on the website designed by GoDaddy website builder. So I think that if you're looking to elevate your brand and you want to set yourself apart from your competition, it's worthwhile to have a customized branded website that is professionally designed. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that web hosts offer different packages depending on who they are, what they offer, and the size of your business, and what you expect from your host. So I think you have to look for one that is just going to make sure that when things go wrong, your site is not going to be down for long. That is the worst thing that can happen. Is no website, you're suddenly just lost business. And sometimes I had an issue, by the way, back in the day. I was using, I don't know, like Bluehost or one of those typical ones, and I was having an issue with my email, and I had no email for 7 days straight, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And I switched over to a hosting service through a BNI member and had my email up within hours. So, things go wrong. So you have to make sure that your hosting service is reliable at the very least. Right?
That's an
Okay.
understatement.
Yeah, and it's not fun. Next question. How should I communicate how important video content is for your website?
So, that's a great question, Sarah. I think that, this is one of those opportunities where you're speaking to your target market the way that they want to be spoken to. So you have some folks that are visual, they want to see those photos. You have some folks that are language people that want to read, they want to read everything that's on your website. And then you have
Awesome.
those folks that are going to be, I'm going to say the snippets, where they want it concise. And I think that's where video comes into play. A lot of the videos that my clients have on their sites are shorter and, in 30 seconds or less, just as a teaser. And I think it's important to not only incorporate video, but to incorporate all of those things so that you're, speaking to folks the way that they read or want to have that information shared.
Mhm. Jesse is asking if you, Jill, offer a website review.
Absolutely. Most website designers will do a complimentary evaluation. So I think that, is definitely something, again, my goal is to help you. So if I can offer you advice or assistance in helping you determine what next steps to take, then by all means, absolutely.
All right, excellent. All right, Sarah's asking because I would like to help to upgrade a brand, but how could I know if they want that I solve their problems, invest in high quality production? Well, I don't know exactly. I'm not clear on that one.
Um,
How would you solve the problems and invest in high quality production? Oh, this is like video production? Is that what we're talking about?
yeah, I think Sarah asked the question
Yeah.
previously.
Right. Okay. All
So
right.
hopefully, branding and video production are both important. I think that might be the point that Sarah was trying to connect. Did that
Yeah.
help? She says yes in the chat. That's right.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So Carlos is asking, explain to a lot of folks the difference between a templated system like Squarespace or Wix compared to WordPress.
I love this question. So Squarespace, Wix, GoDaddy, website builder, those are starting points for folks that maybe want to have a quick result of I'm going to do my website myself, and it doesn't have the customized solutions that you can do within WordPress. WordPress, sure, they have templates, but those templates are customizable so that you're not going to look, if you're an attorney and your logo is navy blue, you're not going to look like every other website. That it's going to be customized to your brand. And I always share with my clients, it's important for me to stand out from my competition. And so this is a way that you do that, is by standing out from, what the other websites look like. We want to make sure that it's branded to your brand.
Yeah, there's just so much more versatility in a WordPress-based site as opposed to one of those templated sites. But again, it depends on where you are in your business and what your budget is. And if sometimes you just need something simple that's going to work for you, start there. But don't make it, if your business has grown in the past few years and you're still on that basic website, you may want to have somebody take a look at it because you may be missing out on SEO and other opportunities in terms of design and what you can offer that those services don't necessarily do.
Yeah, I think this is a good comparison to that, pretty car with the square wheels. You're going to have something that looks okay, but it's not necessarily as functional as it could be.
Right. Okay, Christine is asking, I'm working on finishing my website, which is a Wix website. As I sell art supplies, I am now hearing that Wix is not good as a sales platform. Do you agree with this?
I have not had experience with a client using Wix for sales, so I don't have personal knowledge of that. However, there are other platforms that I would recommend before using Wix. But like Steve said, everybody starts somewhere. So if that's where you're at and, you've got something working, I would encourage you to, finish that. And then maybe the next step is to see, what other options might suit you better.
Right, right. Okay. Dwayne's asking, are there tools available through GoDaddy website builders sufficiently secure, especially for a business that doesn't do financial transactions?
Website builder, GoDaddy. I would encourage you to reach out to your chapter's website designer and, maybe get a couple of different opinions, IT professionals. I'm not going to make recommendations on this webinar, but I know that there are options out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people have a lot of problems with GoDaddy, but I'm sure, I don't want to say that I'm sure, I'll never say that, but I'm pretty sure that for the most part, if they're going to offer some sort of tools that they say are secure, they're probably as secure as they're going to get. But again, and as you mentioned, if you are in a financial business or there's some sort of transactions going on, you want to make sure you got something that's rock solid. I know a lot of people prefer Shopify, which someone asked in the chat, as for if you have a storefront on your website, to go with something like that, super secure over there. Okay, let's see. Peg says, I only have an email in contact info because most visitors to my website are people trying to see me something, not seeking my leadership coaching. Oh, okay. How do you balance contact against spam? Good question.
Oh yeah, no, there are a lot of tools that you can use for online forms even to be able to protect against spamming or, some of the bot technologies that come through where you get thrown a bunch of emails.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would recommend only putting your email up there. I think that, that having an online form, because you can actually add that additional protection and know that it is a human that's, inputting that information.
Yeah, I think that I think some spam is just part of the deal. If you're out there, I will happily weed through spam if I need to get to, the goal that is the customers. But there's only so much you can do. But you're going to get spam. Spam's going to happen. Hopefully it's diverted to the right places. But yeah, I'm more than happy to put my phone number on my website, and I get crazy calls every so often, but not as many as you would think. Okay, so let's see. What do you recommend using for security?
There are
And then,
several plugins for WordPress specifically that can protect your website.
mhm,
This is going to start with your hosting provider, though. It definitely will. And that
yeah,
actually is the next question.
yeah,
I do have a preferred hosting provider that I use. I'm not sure that it's wise to share on this platform. If you want to message me separately, I can share that information with you. Just shoot me an email. But it's definitely a trial and error. I will share, I probably have had at least a dozen different hosting providers that I've worked with because clients come to me and they've already got an existing site. And I've over the last year have migrated a lot of them over to other solutions because of security, hosting lag time with regard to the load time for servers being bogged down and that type of thing. So
yeah. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned trial and error, because I'm learning that a lot of things that we do in terms of SEO and security and what works for your business doesn't work for other people. So just because you've chosen something doesn't mean you shouldn't consider at some point as your business changes moving on to something that's better. If you have more budget as time goes on, it's worth investing in those things. So don't feel like you have to spend a fortune if you're just starting your business, like that person who's on the Wix website, just starting out. That's cool. Just get it going, get the word of mouth out there. And but I think that over time it does make sense. And that's why we asked right up front, how long has it been since you've updated your website? I think you really have to look at where your business is now. And if times have changed, it's time to invest in that website. It's such an important tool. Okay, next question is, oh, do you update Java codes?
I can clean up Java code. This is not the funnest thing to do, but I can do it if it's something that you're looking for assistance with.
Mhm. Absolutely.
We had a comment in the chat about having your cybersecurity specialist help making sure that things are solid, and that's
Yeah,
always a good recommendation as well.
absolutely. Very important to do that. Okay, I think we are out of questions. Nope, another one just popped in. Look at that. As soon as I close the window. What are your thoughts about using AI for copy and images? Don't kick me out, Steve. Haha. All right, Carlos. Can I field this one, Jill?
Yes, I know what you're going to say because we discussed this already, but go ahead.
All right, so I am okay with AI for copy as long as you just don't say, write me a blog about whatever your business is, and then you publish it, because it's going to give you some information, but the information is going to sound like Wikipedia and not like you, and it's not going to mention your services. So as a starter, it can be terrific. It's great for ideation to come up with a list of things that you want to do. I work with AI as a copywriter, but I don't let AI write the copy for me. I'll let it lay it out, and then I'll say, all right, now let me get to work and tweak it as needed. But so yeah, I'm not against it, but you have to embrace AI. It is everywhere. It is part of what we do now in technology, and so it is an important factor, but you still need to tweak.
Yeah, I consider it more of almost like a brainstorming session, if you're trying to start with some ideas.
Yeah.
I'm looking for some expansion, but it's definitely not something that I would totally 100% just take and use.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing so many different AI brands out there now. It's was just initially was OpenAI with ChatGPT, and now there's Google's Bard, and Google's got something called Gemini that they're working on now, and Microsoft has Bing AI, and lots of. I think Elon Musk just mentioned that there's his new XAI, which is coming out on Saturday. So it just keeps going. So it's something that we need to embrace, but we have to also be careful about too. And that's all I have to say about that. Hire a copywriter. There you go. Uh, any final questions from anybody? If not, we will wrap up. Jill, any final words before we sign off?
I hope that you all have learned even just a little tidbit of something. And for those of you that maybe haven't taken a look at your website, do so and consider some of the things that we discussed. And reach out to your chapter's website designer. If you don't have one, I'm happy to have that conversation as well. But I wanted to make this fun and interesting. So hopefully both of those goals were accomplished.
Absolutely. All right, let's hit that last slide. Join us next week. We've got returning presenter Larry Mazzoni. He's a great guy, a friend of mine, and we're talking about inviting visitors who actually show up to your chapter. We're calling it that because a lot of people invite and they're like, oh, I thought they would come, but they didn't come. Larry has a ton of stories about the way that he has presented BNI to people that have made them want to show up. So definitely tune in for that one. Give yourselves a CEU. And Jill, thanks again for being on today. And if anyone needs to get in touch with Jill, why don't you back up one slide for the last, if they want to get in touch. And there's her email, jill@jdk.design. All right. And thanks for being on today. And we'll see you all next week. Take care, everybody.